Okay, now we can go ahead and attach. To do that, I'm going to take some epoxy putty off stick. Always take more than you want. Normally you'd want about that much, so I'm going to take about this much, because you end up using more than you think. This stuff is not a glue, it's a putty, so it's going to have to be sculpted. And a lot of people make that mistake. They think it's a glue and they just sort of stick it on and then wonder why it doesn't stick. Your coils don't stick. Well, it isn't a glue, so it's not going to stick. What it is, it's a hardening putty. It's more like clay. And you have to sculpt it just like sculptors do with clay. So here we're folding it up, mixing the epoxy with the putty material. And I got a pretty good ball of it. And what you do is you make that into a ball. And you push it into that hole. And hopefully when you do, you twist it a bit, and you'll wind up pushing a lot of the material into the crevices. So now I got something that looks kind of like a Hershey's Kisses here. And with that, we should be able to push the coral into the middle. And you see, I pushed that. I made an indentation into the putty. Now I can put the coral in there and fold things over and sculpt the putty around the frag. Best to get it a little bit dry. And you'll want to avoid, if you can, getting this epoxy putty on the tissue of the animal. That doesn't seem to work very well. The tissue of these corals doesn't really like that putty. Okay, let's see if I can get a close up of this. And I'm going to have to move the camera to do it. Okay, and bring this up closer. You can see that what I've done is I have sculpted around the coral while providing a good base on the rock. And that'll hold forever and ever. Okay, it won't be so much that the coral is glued in, but the epoxy putty surrounds it in such a way that it can't free itself. So it's kind of it's like a cage. You kind of got to be a sculptor. And you run this along here like that, just like a sculptor does. And then that won't come free. So now I'll put this in the water, and then I'll do the other ones, and then we'll put them in the tank. Okay, here I've made prepped the other two, and you can see I've created, it looks like little Mount Vesuviuses on those flat rocks. They were a ball that I pushed down and squished and rotated, and then I created the little holes indentation at the top of my little finger. And we'll go ahead and stick those corals in there and mount them up. And just like a sculptor, I'm working that material around the base. Don't overwork it. And that's one. Don't overwork it or it'll start to just fall apart. The clay material will sort of disintegrate. You'll have to start all over. And that should hold. And that's it. Now I'm gonna put those I'm gonna put those in the sump for 24 hours, and then I can put them in the main tank. So you can see how I sculpted that around the base. That's that one, and then this is this one. These flat rocks are kind of like hors d'oeuvres, you know, like. Anyway, we'll put those down in the sump, and then tomorrow afternoon I'll put them into the tank. Okay. Well, just to finish up, I wanted to show you the frags we did that were the trumpet coral. And you can see there at the bottom there's the gray epoxy putty, and you can see the that's the dual or the double polyp, and you can see the tissue's just fine. There's no recession or nothing. This is about 4 days later, so it's sitting there just fine. The other one is one of the other ones is down here. I placed it next to the bluish coral, or the blue coral. That's the one that's on one of those wafer deals. And I need to glue those down, but I didn't have time. I only epoxy them down using a little epoxy putty, so the snails or fish don't knock them over. They'll be in the tank about 6 months, or maybe even more. And this is why you need to epoxy the rocks down. Even though they're fairly big rocks, they're easily knocked over by snails. I had set this as the third frag. I'd set this one up, and it got knocked over. So I'll have to pull the system apart, reach down here, get it, and glue it down firmly. It just doesn't work not to use epoxy putty to attach them. The rocks, the rocks that the frags are on, they'll just fall over, or the snails will knock them over. It's very hard to get them to stay. So that's those. And here we can see this is about 5 days now, and these look fine. I don't see any bacterial growth on the top, so I don't see any infections starting where we cut the frags. These are the two that are laying sideways. Here. And they look good too. I don't see any signs of infection or anything. I can see little diatoms growing, little golden diatoms here growing on that white rock. What was started out as a white rock, and now I can see there's some golden colors on it. So it's been about 5 days. That's about right for the algae to form. And then this is that last one, which you probably can't get a very good shot of, but it's in the middle of the screen here. There. Now is that tip that we cut off. And you can see the rock was white, and now it's become somewhat golden yellow from the diatoms growing on there, which is okay. In time the coral will grow, and that'll be a nice rock for sale. Take about 6 to 9 months for that to grow real nice.